theme for this month for our worship services and small groups and RE is healing. And in my experience, we can't really talk about healing without also talking about grief. So the Vespers service tonight is both about grief and healing. And specifically, I believe that healing is what starts to happen when we find ways of channeling our grief after experiencing loss. The Brazilian novelist Paulo Coelho tells a story about an acquaintance of his who had lost everything that he had. This was a man who was immensely successful, who had everything that he thought he wanted, a successful business, a beautiful, loving family, lots of friends, lovely home, and material wealth that made him the envy of a lot of people that knew him. But he made some serious financial mistakes and personal mistakes, and his business went belly up. And even worse, he dragged others down with him, causing harm to people that he never really wanted to hurt. Over the course of just a year or two, this man, as I said, found that he had lost everything. His business was gone, his home had to be sold, his friends turned their backs on him, his family left him, and suddenly it seemed that he had nothing at all. Unable to repay the debts that he'd accumulated, he was desperate and even considered suicide. And then one afternoon, as he was walking down a street, he saw a house that was in ruins. And the man thought to himself, that building is me. And at that precise moment, he felt an immense desire to rebuild that house. So he found out who the owner was and offered to carry out all the necessary work himself, free of charge. And the owner agreed, although he couldn't really understand what this man had to gain from taking on all of this work without any pay. But together they managed to get hold of all the materials they needed: tile and wood and sand and cement. And this man put his whole heart into this work, though without knowing why or for whom he was doing it. But as the renovation progressed, he felt his personal life improving as well. By the end of a year, the house was completed and ready. And he found that his life had been rebuilt as well. He had put back together the scattered pieces of his torn up life and started anew. I think there are times in each of our lives when it feels like everything that matters to us, everything we've worked to build, is crumbling around us, either as a result of our own actions or as a result of unfortunate circumstances. Everything around us and within us sometimes just seems to break into pieces. A job is lost, or the house burns down, or the beloved spouse or friend dies, or any of a million things that can and do go wrong. Sometimes it's like the bottom drops out of life and we're left feeling nothing but wounded and bereft. And our woundedness often causes us to turn inward, to turn away from the outside world and focus entirely on our personal grief and suffering. And certainly, mourning losses is a necessary and good thing. It wouldn't make sense to stay in denial about loss. It has to be acknowledged and mourned. But real healing, I think, begins when we take our wounded selves out of isolation and aloneness and start working on something bigger than our own personal pain. The hymn that we're about to listen to, We Laugh, We Cry, is about the power of community in gaining perspective and processing joys and sorrows together.
dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth, and we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, the memories we shared with friends, they will linger on, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow. We have the gift to believe that peace within our living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
You're muted.
Sorry, I just had to turn off my other screen. I'm back now. Okay, that song always chokes me up a little bit too, but grateful to have it to listen to tonight. I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of grief in our world right now. Here in this congregation, I know many of us are grieving the sudden and unexpected death of Barb McCracken, one of our most involved and beloved members. At the same time, we also find ourselves grieving the many losses directly or indirectly related to the pandemic, the loss of lives in some cases, the loss of people's livelihoods in other cases, and the loss of a sense of normality for virtually everyone. And as we head into the holidays, the loss of the usual get-togethers with friends and family. And and also in this moment, we're grieving our political and social situation in the United States. There's some hopeful things going on, and I don't want to ignore or forget about those hopeful things. But there are also some very real divisions that have, in some cases, led to the loss of relationships with friends and family members who are on the other side of the divide from us. So I think it's fair to say that almost everyone in the world is grieving something right now. And we're all at various stages in the grief process. And we're also moving back and forth among those various stages. And we're dealing with different kinds of loss and different kinds of grief. So given all of this grief and all its accompanying complexity, how do we deal with it? How do we hold and process the grief so that we can move toward ultimately healing? I want to offer just a few suggestions which are articulated by an article that I read a few months ago in the Harvard Business Review by David Kessler, talking specifically, he actually mentions 5 things to do when processing grief, which I think it's fair to say all of us are doing right now. First of all, name the grief that you're experiencing and really allow yourself to feel it and share it with others when you're experiencing that grief. Our bodies and our intuitive minds can help guide us through the grieving process, but we first need to name it and claim it, and sharing it with others can help. Second, remember to breathe and carve out times in your day for calm and stillness. Try even the simplest of breathing practices as a way to reset your emotions and your sense of overwhelm. It doesn't have to take very long. It can just take a minute or even less. And that can actually make a huge difference in your day. It does for me when I remember to take those little moments out. Third, remember the serenity prayer. And I'll be talking more about this on Sunday during my sermon. But the serenity prayer says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are things that we can change, mostly having to do with our own responses to the situations that we face, and things that we cannot change. For example, mostly other people's responses. So we try to focus on the things that we can change. Fourth, break big things down into smaller chunks. Don't try to do everything at once. Take things 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 moment, 1 breath at a time when you have to. Sometimes that's the only way to deal with overwhelming emotions, including grief. And fifth, and finally, focus on compassion toward yourself and others, and gratitude for what you do have when you're able to do so. But when you're not able to feel compassion and gratitude, go back to step 1 and allow yourself to feel whatever it is you are feeling. Then breathe, then focus on things you can change, then break things down into smaller pieces and repeat that process as needed. Eventually, all of us will get to a place of acceptance, the final step in the grieving process. But we can't really just white knuckle our way there. We need to let grief do its work wherever we are in the process. We're living in interesting and also extremely challenging times, and we need one another now, I think, more than ever before. Everything I mentioned about grief and how to work with our grief and move toward healing is made easier by sharing that work with other people. In fact, much of this work simply cannot be done alone. So reach out to other people as you can, both for their sake and for your own. There's a light that burns at the heart of this community, and I believe at the heart of the human spirit, that keeps shining even when all else, all around us, seems to be cloaked in darkness. The choir piece we're about to listen to, which we included in a Sunday service this past summer, was composed by Mark Miller, a church musician and songwriter based in New Jersey. His text for this piece was, according to the notes on the sheet music, found etched on the walls of a cellar in Cologne, Germany, by a Jew hiding from Nazi persecution during World War II. And the text reads as follows: I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in God, even when God is silent. So I'm going to try sharing my screen again in just a second.
I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in light. I believe in light, even when I don't feel it. I believe in light. I believe in light, even when I don't I believe in God. I believe in God. I believe in God, even when it's not shining. I believe in light. I believe in light, even when I don't feel it. I believe in God. 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 I
You're muted again.
Thank you. Just saying I was grateful to be able to share that video and grateful for the work of all of our choir members in making those pieces happen. I'm going to go ahead and close out this Vesper service, and then we're going to have people, we're going to go ahead and break out people by rooms for the sharing circles, for those of you that are registered for sharing circles or for starting point. And I'm going to close with this poem written by Jan Richardson titled A Blessing of Hope. So may we know the hope that is not just for someday, but for this day, here, now, in this moment that opens to us. Hope not made of wishes, but of substance. Hope made of sinew and muscle and bone. Hope that has breath and a beating heart. Hope that will not keep quiet and be polite. Hope that knows how to holler when it is called for. Hope that knows how to sing when there seems little cause. Hope that raises us from the dead, not someday, but this day, every day, again and again and again.